welcome to Gaming News Weekly, your weekly news show every Friday at 5, dedicated to all things gaming. As always, we choose 3 stories to get through, the best picks of the news this week, and we'll get into them shortly. As always, so hosts me, I'm Rich, and my good friend and colleague from across the county, Tabs. Say hello, mate.
Yeah, Tabs.
Like it, I like it. But we will start, as we always do, with what we've been playing this week. So, Tabs, what have you been playing this week?
Can I just say, first of all, mate, can you make a little bit of effort with your attire, please? I mean...
Thanks for that.
This.
Appreciate. Yeah.
No, only joking, BArcadians. We had a short joke before the call, so I thought I'd rub that in.
But yeah, what have you been playing then, mate? Tell us all about it.
So yeah, this week, a bit of Death Stranding.
Beautiful.
And I emphasise a bit, because I think it was just Monday. So yeah, really, I'm still on the first, area, and it's there's 3 main sort of, what do you call them, mate, preppers that you kind of deliver in between, isn't there? Am I right in thinking 3?
Yeah, there's 3 main.
Wow, there's a trek, isn't there?
Yeah.
But the first 3, I've decided to kind of take it a bit slow. Before, when I played Death Stranding, obviously completed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Before, I took I skipped through things a bit too quick because I just wanted to crack on with the story. And obviously, I'd read all the reviews that said the first 10 hours are a bit of a slog. But this time, I've decided I want to try and level up the preppers a bit, kind of try and take it at my own pace, start to enjoy the treks because obviously I know what it's all about now. And yeah, it's been good. We've turned on strand contracts, which, if you don't know, enable you to kind of link up with a friend. So there's a lot more chance to see their infrastructure, their buildings, to share that cooperative element because of the way Death Stranding is designed. So that's been cool. I saw Rich's bridge the other day, which did actually really help me. Thank you, mate.
Excellent.
And yeah, so we're just... Rich is cracked straight on, as I'm sure he'll tell us in a minute. But it's... I'm enjoying it, but it's going to be a slow crawl for me just because of everything going on in my life. A lot of projects and stuff at the minute. But yes, definitely recommend it to anybody who's not experienced Death Stranding. I know it's a bit of a Marmite game, but I have seen an account on Twitter a lady who's just been loving it after initially being very skeptical, thinking it was a walking simulator and nothing else. She's now loving it, absolutely thriving on it, and it's been lovely to see that change in perspective. But mate, enough about me. Tell us about your week in gaming.
Yep, so I have been smashing Death Stranding. I mean, Tabs alluded to it there. I've been playing it a lot. I would actually say I'm playing it slower than I played the previous game, much like Tabs. I'm taking it in a little bit more. I definitely think they've adjusted those first 10 hours quite considerably to make them much more palatable, which is definitely a welcome addition. It means you can take it in a little bit more because you've got a few little quality of life features in there that do help you, and you're not thinking, I just want to get through this now. So that is enjoyable. And yeah, I'm into the second area, and I'm busy doing deliveries, building infrastructure. I've actually got obsessed with building infrastructure for some reason, and I'm just literally just going around trying to steal resources from anywhere I can to try and finish something that appears in the second area. I won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it. I'm hoping that Tabs will be onto the second area soon enough so he can help me with some resource gathering. Because yeah, I'm really struggling, specifically with ceramics. So if anyone knows how to get ceramics and tons of them, then down below, help me out. So yeah, it's been good fun. Go on,
Can I make a request, mate? Can you? I don't know if you're already doing it, but you know the signs, so L1 and triangle, is it?
Yeah.
Can you start marking things up, and specifically if you come across any chips? Because I really want to collect the little memory chip things this time.
I've got loads of them this time.
Mark them up. Yeah, I've got more than I ever remember having.
Agreed. Yeah,
so I don't know if they've
agreed.
added more in. I don't know.
But
yeah, mark them up for me.
I don't... Now, I might be wrong on this, but with the scan thing, that's how I've been finding them, because it marks them when you scan the terrain, and then I've been like, oh, right, I'll get over there. I don't remember them being so readily like accessible in terms of them being marked when you scan the terrain. So I don't know whether that's changed or it's something I'm looking out for more. But yeah, I found loads more than I had before.
I'm having that feeling though. I think we've touched upon it, mate. Where like I can't remember. I'm like learning new things that I feel like weren't in the original. But I'm not sure. They might have been, and I just didn't know about them or didn't pay attention enough. Yeah, so it is actually blossoming a bit more, you know, the second time through, which is great.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things where I was like, I'm pretty certain. I spoke to you about a couple of them. I'm pretty certain it wasn't in the original game, and it really helps. Well, it's really helped me out. So I think they have tweaked it a bit, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it was one evening. I think it was last week. It might have been over the week. No, I think it was. Or was it Thursday last week? There was basically one evening where I just became a mule, and I was just playing Death Stranding until about 1 a.m, and I just couldn't get off it. I was so obsessed with deliveries and everything. So anyway, enough about Death Stranding. We will get into the news unless you've got anything to add, Tabs.
No, like you say, mate, we've done that to death already. So
absolutely.
Let's crack on.
So first up, we have got eFootball 2022 sadness, and this article comes from IGN. 10 years ago, EA unwisely attempted to reboot its NBA Live basketball franchise, which was then coming off one of the most successful entries to date. The result was EBA Elite, an entry so bad that it effectively killed the franchise while wholly ceding the video game basketball market to NBA 2K. At the time, NBA 2K was a critically acclaimed basketball sim. NBA 2K11 is often called one of the finest sports games ever made, but it didn't take long for the lack of competition to have an effect on the franchise. These days, NBA 2K 2022's positives are buried beneath an avalanche of product placement and microtransactions. With no competition, 2K has little incentive to change its ways, even as fans take to sites like Metacritic to voice their displeasure. Enter Konami's eFootball 2022, the latest attempt to reboot Pro Evolution Soccer as
I don't know how you pronounce this.
Winning 11. This time as a free-to-play soccer sim. The results, to put it mildly, have not been good. With its strange glitches, poor character models, and zombie-like crowds, Konami eFootball 2022 is effectively a pre-alpha release, masquerading as a finished product. Adding insult to injury is that last year's release was treated as a placeholder game, with fans asked to sit tight for an even better release down the road. The backlash has been intense. Konami eFootball 2021 is one of the worst reviewed Steam games of all time. Well, there we go. And I've actually played the... this is the one I downloaded, isn't it, Tabs?
What, eFootball 2022?
Maybe not then.
You did play. I think it was like a demo version of it.
Yeah, basically.
It was like a beta.
And I think I said to you at the time, it's pretty ropey. Like some of the things that were in it, I know that was an even earlier iteration of this that's been panned wildly. But yeah, I did think that was pretty rough around the edges in a lot of ways. And from everything that we're reading and seeing about this, it is awful. You know, and is some serious nails in the coffin of PS. I mean, we spoke at length that we were really excited for what PES was going to bring and what Konami could do with this, simply because of the fact that they said they're going to have a year out, and we are really fond of that scenario. Don't rehash last year's, don't add new, update all the transfers and all that. Take a year, proper 2 year or whatever you need, and do a real good job of it. And that's what we were hoping to see, something really good here. But unfortunately, they fell into the trappings of lots of companies do. And yeah, it's just not great. Yeah, and I think it has come down to money and potentially adding microtransactions and stuff like that. And the fact it is going to be online only, I don't know. What do you make of this, Tabs?
Yeah, I put the headline there, eFootball 2022 sadness, just because we're massive fans of PES, Pro Evolution Soccer. Yeah. The series, or originally ISS, wasn't it? Or Winning
Eleven, absolutely.
Japan. And it's just, I think there has been a steady decline since what was it? Pro Evolution Soccer 5 and 6, mate. I think they're sort of seen as the golden years of the PES franchise. And ever since then, it's been on a decline. I wouldn't say a sharp decline, even in recent entries of PES, like last year's. There's a lot to like about it. And I think it's always delivered a lot more kind of a simulation experience than some of the FIFA games. It's harder to score. There's a bit more granular intricacy, but in recent titles as well, mate, as we know, there's been hugely frustrating aspects to the gameplay, like the referees and the fouling. So it's been, in recent years, it's just not been a comprehensive football game. You know, it ticks all the right boxes. It's been losing its footing, should we say. It's
really strange, because I remember when we were like first becoming friends and we were playing games together, and we loved, like, what was I think it was ISS back then, wasn't it? Or was it the first Pro Evo, maybe? Was it Pro Evolution? The very first one?
I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. And we were like blown away by it at the time when FIFA were doing like real arcade style football games where, you know, you could score these ridiculous bending shots from the halfway line. You know, Pro Evolution Soccer was doing it differently. They were going, okay, we're going to make more of a simulation game. And for a long time, it was the better of FIFA, but then FIFA sort of trended towards that. PES was, and then they've sort of converged on a similar sort of level for a while now. Go on.
No, you should read along this article, BArcadians, because it does kind of go through the history a bit. But you're absolutely right. FIFA definitely stole a lot of ideas and a lot of the gameplay elements from Pro Evo as they evolved together. Of course, FIFA has always had the money, the licensing, which has been, you know, a difficult thing for Konami and Pro Evo to figure out, because it never quite has that presentation that a FIFA game has. But yeah, ultimately, instead of what we were hoping, they were going to go away, reinvent it from the ground up, you know, back to what we think was the best Pro Evo games had to offer. And again, perhaps focus just on a couple of the key consoles. They decided to go the free-to-play business model, straddle all sorts of systems, which in turn usually dilutes down, you know, what you can achieve with the technology and the engine behind it, because you have to make sure it works for every single one. They've clearly taken on more than they can chew and bite off, and that's meant that it's on delivery, it's just not finished. It's just a wreck of a game by all accounts. And yeah, especially when compared to the recent edition of FIFA, I just don't think it compares favourably at all. I think so. Yeah, it's just a sad one, isn't it, mate? To see the franchise in Konami, which we'll come back to at the end of today's news.
We will.
The decline of such a, you know, a force in the games industry that has been the home of many treasured IPs, and this was one of them for us, really, mate, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and I touched on it there. It was a game we sort of discovered and like fell in love with together, because we played a lot of it together, you know. Yeah, I am sad about it, but the one thing I take away from it is, you know, we've fairly recently been playing Pro Evolution, you know, in the last sort of 6 months. You know, we've been playing some online together and various cooperatively, various different things. But the sort of loss of Pro Evo, it's not making me want to suddenly run out and buy FIFA. So that's the one thing I'll take away from it. So for me, there's now a big hole where PES was. So what is going to fill that is sort of the next question. But I don't know.
I mean, we should say as well, mate, we should say that it is a free-to-play kind of iterative type of commodity now. So there's every possibility that they can fix it and turn the corner, and maybe in a year's time it will be, you know, a contender to FIFA again. So let's hope for that. But regardless, you know, it is a descent from what I was hoping they go for, which is like a similar sort of single player focused Pro Evo of old, obviously with multiplayer modes and elements, but they're just going for this free to play online model, which is a little bit disappointing. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that one, BArcadians.
Absolutely. Do you want to move us on, Tabs, to the next story?
Let's. So this story number 2 is reads Halo Infinite multiplayer previews. I've spelled multiplayer incorrectly, but I think I know what I meant. So this article comes from Games Radar, and this is what they had to say. The reveal trailers, dev updates, and 4v4 technical tests can't prepare you for the magic that is Halo Infinite Big Team Battle. After all, the essence of the Halo franchise has always existed in big team battle. The physics, gun meta, and vehicles shine brightest in these matches, so this past weekend, which offered us a second Halo Infinite multiplayer technical test, And the first look at Big Team Battle was a big one for 343 Industries. With a few delays under its belt and the still worrying news that campaign co-op and Forge won't launch until 6 to 9 months after release, the recent Halo Infinite multiplayer test weekend had a lot to accomplish. With Big Team Battle, the franchise's core IP, this weekend had to deliver large-scale battles that retain the perfect pandemonium of previous games while showing off new weapons and equipment. And boy, did it do just that. Halo Infinite's Big Team Battle is perfect in every way.
Wow.
So I suppose, mate, I wanted to crowbar this in because obviously we've covered quite a lot of negative news around Halo Infinite. You know, the next entry in that franchise. Beloved as it is in many pockets in the games industry audience. But, you know, this is obviously a reason to celebrate. And I'm really chuffed for all those Halo fans out there. We won't go into detail, you know, quite what the experience is all about, but suffice to say, it just sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. And what it made me think of, mate, is I remember the first time I played Time Splitters.
Yes.
And also Time Splitters 2 as well. And that sense of just multiplayer madness and, you know, getting caught up in the kind of frivolity of some of the stuff that goes on in these games. And I've seen some great little videos like Capture the Flag, on this new mode. I'm sure it's Capture the Flag, and ways that gamers are and clans or whatever are figuring out to, you know, steal the flag, deliver it back to their base, almost ways around what they perhaps planned in the game. And it's just that sort of like creativity and magic moments that emerge in those sorts of experiences. And I'm just, it's just delightful for all those Halo fans. And you know what? It's on the PC, I think, so I might, at some point when I've got time, have a look at it, because it does look like so much fun. Just a shame I won't be able to enjoy it with you, mate. No, but what do you make of it all?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I've not been like well on top of this for obvious reasons. I don't play first-person shooters, but from everything I've read, the details of it is like supremely positive. I don't think I've heard a negative thing said about it from certainly the people that I listen to and read up on. So yeah, I mean, it bodes very, very well. And if they can, you know, take some of that into the campaign mode, you know, some of that fun and mayhem, you know, with some of the set pieces that we're likely to see, then I think this bodes well for this game. And it's great to see some real positivity on a game that, like we've said, and like we were joining in, was like almost broad brush, just completely negative about it. So really good for some positives to come out of that. And, you know, that's what it's all about.
I think, yeah, it's a great platform for them to push on from, you know, keep that goodwill they've obviously captured in the community. And, you know, I think that's a big thing. They've captured the magic of Halo and the identity of Halo from what a lot of people are saying, but and iterated and built on it in the right areas without, you know, losing that identity and what makes Halo multiplayer. But yeah, great news. Let us know your thoughts, BArcadians, and Rich, move us on to number 3.
Absolutely. And story 3 is MGS Remake. That was my impression of the alert noise, which was awful, so I apologise. But this comes from... I don't know what I was doing. This comes from the Metro. So on top of the most recent Konami rumours, claims of a Kojima production Silent Hill project and an MGS3 remake have surfaced. We're going to... Again, yeah. We're going to be writing about Konami rumours forever, aren't we? Only recently, it was claimed that the company was re-entering the premium games market in a big way, with new entries and remasters planned for some of the most popular brands. Since then, a couple more sources have contributed to the claims. Firstly, Komatsu says that it has heard that Konami is outsourcing its Silent Hill series to none other than Kojima Productions. I hope that's true. Previous rumours suggest that the exact same thing last year, with Komatsu anonymous source also claiming that Sony is funding the project, presumably as an exclusive. This almost sounds too good to be true, considering Hideo Kojima-made Silent Hill game has been rumoured, speculated and wished for by fans ever since the cancellation of Silent Hills in 2015. However, it's difficult to imagine Kojima would want to work with Konami again, considering his departure from the company was less than amicable. Plus, last year he outright denied the rumours that he was making a Silent Hill game, but perhaps circumstances have changed since then. Wow.
Yeah, I cut the article short, but I think there's a suggestion, isn't there? I feel like, is it something like Virtuos, mate? Some other developers remaking Metal Gear Solid 3. I forget the specifics, but yeah, there's that as well, isn't there, to cover?
So there's all sorts going on here, and I think it's hard to know how to take all of these rumours, because these rumours have now been doing the rounds for maybe 12 months. Oh, there's the Silent Hill coming. Oh, they're remaking the original MGS. Blue Point are doing that. Now we've got talk of an MGS3 remake, which I think a lot of MGS fans sort of hold as probably the best MGS that there ever was. It was like the best ground. So I think it would make a lot of sense for that to be remade if it holds that sort of credence in fans' hearts. It's a game I've played a little bit of, but only a little bit of. So it is one I've missed. So if they were to remake that, I would be very happy. So difficult to know with this. This rumour's been I almost look at it like the Switch Pro, and I've said this a few times. Tabs, the amount of rumours there are about it has to be a thing, and it sort of did become a thing with the Switch OLED, although not quite what we all thought it was going to be. So I sort of think there's so much doing the rounds on these rumours that some or all of these rumours have to be in some way true. I really, really hope in some way either of the projects that Kojima is involved, because I feel like, and me and Tabs touched on this earlier on in the week, that it would almost seem wrong for an MGS to be remade without Kojima. I don't know, it just seems like weird. It would be weird, you know. It would be like rewriting a Harry Potter book without J.K. Rowling. It would be that kind of scenario. I don't know. It's bizarre, but yeah. What do you make of this?
Appreciate that these days, mate, with everything that JK's been through.
Maybe, but yeah, I don't know. What do you make of this, Tabs? It's a conundrum.
Yeah, I think, like you say, mate, there's so much smoke in the games industry, so many rumours, so many shadows to be chased, that I feel like there has to be a fire burning somewhere and some truth to what we're hearing. It is surprising that somehow Kojima's patched it up with Konami, but maybe, like you say, or this article points out, it's because, Sony has been the middleman there to help smooth things over.
Or, just to interject, Tabs, could it possibly be that Konami have outsourced the project to another studio, this Virtuos or somebody else, and then they have then asked Kojima to come on board with them, so he's not involved with Konami at all, he's like a subcontractor or
consultant.
A consultant, perfect. And he's come on like that, and that's how they've got around the Konami thing. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, that would make sense. But obviously, they're saying that he's working on Silent Hill, so it's like, yeah. I mean, either way, if it is true, great. I'd love Kojima to finish off his his imagination when it comes to PT and obviously Silent Hill. We all want to see what that is. I'd love him to have some input into the MGS3 remake. That's more of an unknown, because again, if somebody is making this outside of Kojima's circle or entourage, if you like, there's always a bit of concern with that it might lose some of its magic, because it's such an iconic game.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say on that is, if it's a straight up remake, so they're literally taking everything, they're remaking it with like some modern iterations from maybe like the likes of MGS5 in there, but they're keeping all of the lore and all of the storytelling and all that the same, and they're being very true to the base material, then I don't have so much of a problem with that. The whole Silent Hill PT thing, that was like, it's almost an unscratched itch for me, because it never truly got put into fruition of what we would have seen with a true Kojima Silent Hill game. How crazy would it be? How like scary would it be? And from PT, we can say that would have been incredible. So I'm more bothered about if that's happening, that I'd rather he was involved in that, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. If they did a sort of a Blue Point Games thing, with Shadow of the Colossus, and I think they used a lot of the original code, didn't they? And they basically just, recreated that in a new engine to make it look prettier. They did add some bits as well, mine. Yeah, but if they stuck to that philosophy, then you can't go too far wrong. if you don't try and do too much with it. It's if they try and go for like a Resident Evil 2 sort of remake, which is a significant reimagining of the original material. That's when you could start to risk pushing into areas which, you know, leaves the original behind and could flop. But, you know, either way, zooming out even further, I think it's great that we're apparently hearing that Konami are starting to, you know, kick their own butts and get back into gaming. Because we mentioned at the start of the news, didn't we, that they have a whole, you know, household of treasured IP. And it's just such a shame that they haven't put that to use for so long. And obviously, you know, we know they've had internal sort of development hell and fallouts. But there's so many developers that are out there these days that you just want somebody with some sense in Konami to look at sourcing, and it seems like that's what they're doing. And choosing some select few people who would do, you know, their franchises justice. I think there's also talk of a Castlevania remake or remaster or something coming there as well. So yeah, regardless, you know, it's good news to see that they're resurrecting it. Let's just pray they're making the right choices and putting the right people in the, you know, at the wheel, if you like, to really steer these franchises back on track. But mate, we've done that one to death as well. BArcadians, in the comments, as always, please do. If you want to carry on that dialogue and conversation, we're always up for chipping in. So we're
absolutely. Absolutely. So let's quickly do everything else because we have rabbited on for far too long this week, and I'll kick us off. Firstly, we've got Naughty Dog teases something big as a hiring spree continues, and the studio recently confirmed that The Last of Us Fractions is still in development, which is very interesting. That will be like a Last of Us multiplayer game, so that's very, very interesting.
Brilliant. And then I'm going to remove this next one, mate, because we've kind of covered it. But I will say there's more rumblings of the GTA trilogy.
Okay.
Apparently it's popped up on like the Rockstar launcher. Like the data mined it or something like that. So basically that looks all but confirmed. And I'm just praying that we get it this side of, you know, 2021. Because I'd love to replay all those games over Christmas, mate. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you like to play them on? Switch, or would you be happy with PS5?
It really depends. If it is just the very delicate touched remaster, we think, and it's all going to look quite similar, just with better frame rates, draw distances perhaps, etc., then I think I'll be fine with them on the Switch, because you're not going to get too much of a, you know, a different experience on a console. But if it's more significant, we're hearing Unreal Engines being used, and obviously I shared that video of a reimagining of, I think was it Vice City or GTA 3, one of them, and it really does look a lot better. Like new character models, textures, you know, the lot. If it's that, I'll probably go home console, because then there's more of a ceiling for it to elevate the experience. What about you, mate?
It doesn't make, I wouldn't play it outside the house, so it doesn't make any sense to not go PS5. To be honest, I'm not convinced this would be a purchase, if I'm honest.
Oh.
I don't know, when 3 massive games to put time into. I don't know. And they're massive games, like 50, 60 hour games to complete the story.
It's Vice City though, mate. Surely Vice City, I don't know, I'm saying that. Maybe San Andreas is the one to play through again.
San Andreas
there's so many memories there.
I agree. But, you know, time is precious. Anyway, and a conversation for another day.
On that bombshell.
Absolutely. So, nearly 30 minutes in, BArcadians. We will call the news there. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, definitely drop us a like down below. As always, if you want to talk to us about anything we've spoken about today, get in the comments, talk to us, send us a comment, ask us a question. We'll do our best to have a dialogue with you about what's going on. And I think that's all we've got time for this week. Another one for the archive.
Stamped and completed.